My name's Rick. Or it used to be. When I woke up one morning, the guy in the mirror wasn't me. I'm not talking about a bad hair day or a weird dream. I mean, the face staring back at me was someone else's. A total stranger. I stumbled into the bathroom half asleep, switched on the light, and there he was. About 5 years older. Short black hair, receding at the temples. Mine was full and dusty brown. A scar on the chin like he'd taken a bottle to the face once. Thick eyebrows. Brown tired eyes. They were supposed to be green. I touched my own cheek. The mirror guy did the same. I blinked. He blinked. I pulled open the medicine cabinet, hoping to find something, anything that would explain this. Pills. Booze. Drugs? Nothing but toothpaste and an old bottle of Tylenol. The panic started hitting, so I yanked a hoodie over my head, pulling the drawstrings tight until my face was basically a shadow, and tiptoed downstairs. Kelsey, my girlfriend, was still asleep in bed. For a second, I thought about waking her, telling her everything. But how the hell do you even start that conversation? A lot of guys have woken up looking like shit, hungover from a bender, shiner from a bar fight. But no boyfriend has ever had to explain wearing another man's face. I grabbed my keys instead, made it halfway across the living room when I heard her scream. "Who the hell are you?" I turned and there she was, frozen at the top of the stairs, clutching a blanket to her chest. "Kelsey, it's me," I said, voice shaking. "It's Rick." Wrong move. She bolted toward the bedroom, shouting about calling the cops. She looked at me like I was some kind of monster. I'll never forget that look. I didn't stick around to see if she made the call. Just jumped into my car and floored it out of the driveway, charging down the road without thinking, out past the gas stations and boarded up strip malls. I pulled into the parking lot of a diner, a 24-hour greasy spoon with flickering neon signs. I needed a place to sit and think. The bell above the door jingled as I walked in. A few heads turned, but quickly went back to their coffees and scrambled eggs. I slid into a booth in the back, pressed against the window. A waitress approached, chewing gum lazily. "What'll it be, hon?" "Just coffee," I muttered. She walked off. I buried my face in my hands. I needed a plan. I needed answers. Should I check myself into a hospital? Go to the police? Hell, maybe just find a motel and lay low until I figured it out. "Hey, there you are." I looked up. A man was standing at the edge of my booth, grinning ear to ear. He was big, beefy, with tattoos running up both arms. His eyes gleamed with something between recognition and excitement. "We've been looking all over for you, man," he said. "You're supposed to be at home." I blinked. "I think you have the wrong person," I said carefully. He laughed. "Come on, Alex. You forget your own name now." "Alex." The word hit me like a slap. "Sorry," I said. "I'm a little out of it." He clapped me on the back hard enough to rattle my teeth. "No shit. Come on, let's get you back. Tara's worried sick." Tara. That name meant nothing to me. But right then, I didn't have any better options. And maybe they would help me figure out what the hell had happened. He drove an old Ford pickup, reeking of cigarettes. "Been a rough couple of days, huh?" he said, pulling out of the lot. "Tara said you stopped taking your meds. Started talking crazy again." I stared at him. "What do you mean?" I ventured. He shot me a side eye. "You know, about being somebody else. Not remembering who you are. All that." My skin crawled. I turned to look out the window. The town blurred past, shuttered stores, peeling billboards, cracked sidewalks. It all felt unfamiliar, like I was dropped in the middle of a movie I hadn't seen from the start. We pulled into a suburban street lined with sagging houses and unkempt lawns. He parked in front of a yellow house with peeling paint and a broken mailbox. "You ready?" he asked. "No," but I nodded anyway. Tara was waiting at the door. She was mid-30s with short blonde hair and dark circles under her eyes. She looked at me with a complicated expression: worry, frustration, love. "Thank God," she said, pulling me into a tight hug. I stood stiffly, not knowing how to react. She pulled back, frowning. "Are you okay? You look different." I tried to smile, but it probably looked more like a grimace. "I'm fine," I lied. "Let's get you inside." The house smelled like stale beer and old laundry. The living room was cluttered with toys, dolls and action figures scattered across the floor. A little girl peeked around the corner, clutching a teddy bear. "Hi, Daddy," she whispered. My heart cracked. I didn't know her. I didn't know any of them. But she knew me. Abby, I soon found, was her name. My daughter. "Hi," I said, as softly as I could, and she ran and hugged my leg. The next few days were a blur. Tara handed me pills every morning, tiny white ones from a bottle labeled haloperidol. The label said, Alexander Marshall. I swallowed them without arguing. Better to be numb than to feel like I was in the wrong skin. The meds dulled everything, like living inside a padded room, watching the world through dirty glass. But they didn't erase my memories. I still remembered Kelsey, our first apartment above the bookstore, the way she used to wear my old hoodie on cold mornings, her laugh when she got nervous. I remembered being Rick Morrison. And this wasn't my life. Late one night, I woke up thirsty, in bed alone, still half drugged from the pills. As I stumbled toward the kitchen, I caught a glimpse of Tara in the living room. She was kneeling in front of the coffee table, whispering to something small and dark sitting in the center. At first, I thought it was a statue, some ugly figurine about the size of a football, carved like a man with wings folded over his face, mouthless, knees drawn tight to his chest. Tara rocked back and forth, whispering words I couldn't catch. I blinked hard, trying to focus. When she saw me, she snapped upright, blocking it from view with her body. You should be sleeping, she said sharply. I mumbled something and stumbled back upstairs. I told myself it was just grief, stress, medication. I told myself I was unreliable, delusional, insane, and had to lean on the people around me to know what was going on. Then it happened. I was on the couch when the news came on. Breaking, car crash off Route 7. I barely looked up until I heard the name. Richard Morrison, 32. Found dead at the scene. My chest locked up. They showed my face on TV.my real face. Found dead in a ditch outside of town. They said I must have lost control. Drunk, maybe to ⁰o⁰ foul play suspected. Something snapped loose inside me. I waited until Tara and Abby were asleep, stole the keys off the kitchen counter, and drove, headlights off, hard in my throat. I had to find Kelsey. Had to make her understand. I went back to my house, waiting out back in the rain. Kelsey arrived, heading inside. I didn't want to break in and scare her again, so I waited until she came out with a cigarette. She stood under the awning, shaking from either the cold or from holding it together too long, fumbling with a lighter. Kelsey, I said, stepping out from the shadows. She jumped, dropping the cigarette. Her eyes went wide. Fear, recognition, confusion all smashed together. You again, she said, voice trembling. Why are you here? I know how this sounds, I said quickly, but you have to believe me. I'm Rick. She shook her head, backing toward the door. No, you're sick. You broke into my house. You're crazy. I knew she'd say this and came prepared. I know about the quarry, I said. When you were 16, you broke your wrist sneaking in, trying to impress that idiot Jason. You lied and said you slipped on the stairs. She froze. I pressed on. I know about the birthmark on your hip you hate. I know you hate mint toothpaste and pretended you didn't because I love it. I even told you not to smoke, but know you still do when you're stressed. Found that pack of cigarettes 3 months ago, breast pocket of your pea coat with a rip in the lining. But I didn't tell you. Tears welled up in her eyes. How? She whispered. I have no idea, I said. I saw the news report, but that was my body, but I'm here. Somehow. This is me. Kelsey stood there, rain dripping from her light brown hair, staring at me like she was seeing a ghost. For a long time, neither of us said anything. Finally, she broke. Get inside, she whispered, her voice cracking. Before someone sees you. The house was dim and cold. She didn't turn on the lights, just closed the door softly behind us and bolted it. That night, I crashed on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that smelled faintly of home, detergent and Kelsey's old perfume. Neither of us slept much. She sat in the armchair across from me, sipping cold coffee. Every few minutes, she'd look at me, studying my face, my gestures, the way I scratched my head or shifted my weight. Looking for pieces of the man she lost. Looking for proof. I didn't blame her. Sometimes I caught myself doing it too, trying to find myself in this stranger's skin. Over the next few days, we started digging. She pulled out old photo albums. I pointed out things only Rick would know, places we'd gone, stupid inside jokes scribbled on the back of Polaroids. We went through my old texts and emails. Looked for anything about Alex Marshall. Nothing. No overlaps. No connections. One night we drove out to the crash site, headlights cutting through the misty dark. Route 7 was deserted. The road wound between two rocky slopes, guardrails twisted like broken arms. We found the spot easily, a fresh patch of scorched earth, scattered glass glittering in the weeds. The official story said I veered off, hit the ravine, snapped my neck on impact. But standing there, looking down at the wreckage site, it didn't feel like an accident. Kelsey shivered beside me, pulling her jacket tighter. She had told me that since that morning she first saw me as Alex, the Rick that returned home hadn't been acting like himself. He claimed he was out on a morning jog when I intruded, but he was cold, distant, going through the motions. Then a memory clicked into place, sharp, clear. On the way home, I told Kelsey about the figurine. The mouthless thing Tara had been whispering to. The way she tried to hide it when she realized I was watching. Kelsey went still, her hand tightening around her coffee thermos. "Describe it again," she said. I did. She searched on her laptop, using my description to find something. A pagan story older than any religion about a figure called the Mournkin. He fit the description of the figurine to a T. A being that could swap one life for another. But the price was steep. The stolen soul would rot away, memory by memory, until nothing remained. Only the vessel, the body, would survive. Before we could scare each other any further, we decided to call it. Kelsey had made up the guest bedroom for me after the first night, but she didn't want to sleep alone. I told her I could take the floor, and she could have the bed as she shook her head and pulled me in, kissing me. She came away, saying it was the strangest thing. She knew I was physically different, but she could feel me in the kiss. It couldn't have been anyone else. We slept together that night, and I felt like I was home again. Even if we had a long way to go, I was overwhelmed with the comforting sensation that we would figure it out together. The next morning, we were awoken by 3 loud knocks on the front door. Kelsey sat bolt upright, heart hammering like mine. A voice called out from the porch, "Alex, you need to come home." It was Tara's brother, Wesley, the big guy who found me in the diner. And he wasn't alone. Through the blinds, I caught a glimpse of a patrol car. The police. Kelsey grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the back of the house. "Out the window," she hissed. We scrambled into the kitchen, wrenching open the tiny window above the sink that I barely fit through, landing hard in the wet grass behind the house. Kelsey tumbled after me. We sprinted into the woods, shoes slipping in the mud. Behind us, I heard the front door crash open, cops bursting inside. Then Tara's voice cutting through the morning air. "It's too late," she screamed. I didn't look back. We ran for what felt like hours. Through the trees, down abandoned side roads, across parking lots slicked with rain. Found an old junkyard, busted open a rusted Ford that still had keys tucked behind the visor. We drove with the windows down, soaking wet, breathless. And when we thought we were clear, we pulled into a gas station outside of town. The lot was empty except for one truck. Wesley's truck. By the time we spotted it, he was already standing there, behind my bumper, blocking us into our space. Waiting. Kelsey cursed under her breath, restarting the ignition like she was going to run him over. But in the rear view, Wesley held up one hand. Not threatening or angry, just tired. I opened my door before she could stop me. Maybe I just needed answers. Or maybe I was sick of running. Wesley didn't move, just looked at me, really looked, and said, "I'm not here to drag you back." "Then why are you here?" I asked. "To let you know." "Know what?" I asked. He lit a cigarette with shaking fingers, glanced toward the dark highway. "You were never supposed to survive it." "What is it exactly?" I asked. "I don't know." He exhaled a cloud of smoke. "All I know is, it trades one life for another. First time Tara did it, it was to a bully of hers in high school. Caused so much chaos, I never thought she'd use it again." "Then why did she?" I asked. "Because he paused. Alex wasn't well. He kept talking about leaving Tara. Didn't want to be with her anymore. And he was threatening to take Abby." He paused, then said, "Guess she figured she had a better shot at someone else in his body than no Alex altogether." "Why did you choose me?" I asked. He smiled and shook his head. "It chose you. We had nothing to do with it." In a weird way, this made sense. I was a perfect stranger, but I still didn't understand why he was here. What's the point of finding me? Telling me all this? I could see regret in his eyes. Because it wasn't supposed to go down like this. You were supposed to forget right away. He shook his head. But she didn't count on you fighting it. On her still loving you. Even as someone else. He looked toward Kelsey sitting in the car, watching us, terrified. You being around her, remembering who you are, that's what's screwing it all up, he said. It needs you broken. Alone. That's how it finishes the job. But you wouldn't lay down. You kept fighting. Am I safe now? I asked earnestly. He thought about it. You bought time. I don't know how much. But use it while you can. He dropped the cigarette, grinding it under his boot. That's it, I said. He nodded. I'm sorry. Then he got back into his truck and drove away, his taillights shrinking into the dark. We fled again, not putting stock in anything he said, knowing it was better to keep running than to let our guard down now. New state, new town, new motel. Night after night. I was just glad to have Kelsey with me, and she felt the same. We didn't care where we were as long as we were together. And it felt like maybe we had beaten it, until little things started slipping. First it was small stuff she had told me. Things I should have remembered. Where we parked the car. What room we were staying in. I brushed these off. Everyone forgets sometimes. Then whole conversations were gone like smoke. I couldn't remember what we talked about or ate at dinner. Kelsey was concerned, but kept me calm, hoping for the best despite the growing evidence to the contrary. Finally one night, we stopped at a nameless motel on the edge of town. It was cold. Freezing. Kelsey said she was going back inside to grab her scarf. I sat on the curb, smoking, watching the stars blink and shimmer in the dark. The kind of dark that illuminated them all but made everything else impossible to discern. And just then, I swear some of the stars seemed to brighten, forming the shape of something. A new constellation I'd never noticed before. A mouthless figure curled in on itself, wings folded across its face, knees drawn tight to its chest. The door creaked open behind me. Footsteps on gravel. I turned. There was a woman standing there. Mid-30s. Light brown hair. Warm but tired eyes. A scarf dangling from her hand. I stared at her as she approached, heart pounding for reasons I didn't understand. "Rick?" she said, voice trembling, giving me a look of concern. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I shook my head. "Sorry, ma'am," I said gently. "I think you have me mistaken for someone else." Her eyes pleaded with me, but I didn't know what for. Tears welled up and spilled down her cheeks. I shifted awkwardly, feeling bad. "Are you okay?" I asked. She shook her head. No. I hesitated, the night pressing down around us. "Are you here alone?" I asked gently. For a long moment, she just stared at me, searching for something in my face, something that wasn't there anymore. Then she nodded.